let's start off talking to the fellows about their draft day experience. We'll go with Bill first, and Bill was talking about when he was drafted in the first round out of Pitt. Start off by telling us who called you and told you, who did you get the phone call from to tell you you'd been selected by the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, Mr. Hunt was the one that called, and in those days the draft started at 5:30 in the morning on a Saturday. So needless to say, we had to get up a little bit early and watch it on ESPN. Totally different deal nowadays, right? Yeah. What they have, what an event it is, and it's great that it's here in Kansas City. But yeah, I got a phone call at about 6 o'clock, and Lamar Hunt was on the other end of the phone, and he wanted to let me know that the Kansas City Chiefs had just were about to select me on television. So it was a pretty neat experience. Kid grew up in Philadelphia, went to school at the University of Pittsburgh, and my dad, I'll never forget this, I'm on a hardline phone in the kitchen talking to Lamar Hunt, and my dad's over on the sofa with an atlas out, yelling at me saying, ask him if it's Kansas City, Missouri or Kansas City, Kansas. I never got around to that. We had to figure it out.
All right, so of course, Tim Grunhard, you came along a few years later, and you guys were both part of that transition that Carl Peterson and Marty Schottenheimer were ahead of, that turned, what really brought on Chiefs Kingdom and turned this great franchise into a winner. So, but I'd like to talk to you. Take me back to the day that you were drafted out of Notre Dame, a Chicago kid from the South Side, coming to Kansas City, and then go ahead and tell us a nice story about meeting Mr. Bill Maas as a rookie.
I got a great story, you guys, about Bill Maas. I have a lot of great stories about Bill Maas, by the way. But
wait,
yeah,
this one's in your book, isn't it?
this is in the book. Thank you for plugging the book.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
View from the center, everybody. You can order it on Amazon or Grunhard.com. Well, I met the guy, he couldn't read, now he's writing books. Hey, like I told everybody before, I wrote a book before I read one. So I don't know, but I will, so I was called on the south side of Chicago. I was drafted in the second round of the 40th pick. I was called by Carl Peterson, and was drafted, obviously, and came the next day to a red coat luncheon. Flew into the airport, stayed at the Adams Mark, by the way, nice Adams Mark. So I'll never forget, I got to the Adams Mark and I heard so much about Kansas City barbecue. I said, well, I didn't have a car or anything, so I just ordered room service. I ordered ribs from the Adams Mark. I thought they were pretty good, but later that I found gates and everything else, so it was outstanding. But my quick story on Bill Maas, so when I did get drafted, I came into Kansas City with that. I had to take my finals at Notre Dame, and we had minicamp, but a guy named Jay Hayes was a coach at University of Notre Dame, and his brother was Jonathan Hayes. So you guys remember Jonathan Hayes playing for the Chiefs? Well, Jay called Jonathan, and Jonathan put me on the phone with Jonathan. He said, and this is my best, Jonathan Hayes, Grunhard. This is Jonathan Hayes. He said, let me tell you something. You better pack your lunch because you're going to be going against Bill Maas every day of practice, training camp, during the year, and he's just one mean SOB. And I was like, oh my gosh, so here we go. So he lived up to his calling. The very first practice we had, we were doing an Oklahoma drill, and Bill and I got in a fight. And Bill, if you notice my nose, it's a little bit crooked. You can thank Bill Maas for that. He broke my nose. I think he broke his hand. And so I'm not sure which was worse. You can still see mine. His hands are pretty gnarly if you've seen them. So after the fight was over, before that he wouldn't talk to me. He just had nothing to do with me. And after the fight was over, he said, hey kid, you're with me. So one of the best things that happened at training camp, for anybody who's ever been to training camp before as a player, going into lunch is so important. Right? Because if you're the last in line to go into lunch, that means you got to wait, and you have to, when you want to go take your nap between practices, it takes a long time to go through lunch. So Bill had a connection to sneak into the back of the cafeteria through this tunnel up through the kitchen and go in. And he brought
or something, right? Just go
and he brought me in there, so we'd be eating in there, and you hear all this pounding on the door, and we'd be looking at him eating and waving at him. So Bill was, for better or for worse, and I say a lot for the better, was my mentor for all the years that he was here in Kansas City. And we had a lot of good times together, did a lot of fun things, played a lot of football games, did a lot of radio together, and it's been a great relationship. But really, if you think back to draft day, one of the things that stands out is knowing that I had to go against Bill Maas every day at practice, which was not a fun thing to do.
All right, let's talk about this draft being in Kansas City. You guys, what I think, most of us here are from Kansas City, and what I love about these guys especially is they're not from here, but they stayed here, right? And that always means something to us when we're from Kansas City, that our athletes who come here, they fall in love with it, like the way we love our city, and they've stayed here and been a real big part of the community, which is awesome. So the draft is here. It's a great big event. These folks are coming to town. It's going to be fun. Tell me how cool that is for Kansas City, Bill, and also maybe you want a defensive tackle, a defensive end coming here. What do you think the Chiefs need?
Well, yeah, to have the draft here, obviously, Kansas City's rolling right now, right, guys? I mean, this is big time. Super Bowls, NCAA championships, and draft, World Cup. This is big time for Kansas City. And I think I can speak for all of us in saying that, you know, what a thrill it is to watch this all evolve right around us. The draft is going to be special. It's going to be a big deal. It's going to be fun to see all the people from the Chiefs Kingdom that can't come here on a regular basis come into Kansas City and be able to witness the draft and take part of Kansas City. And that's from Nebraska, Oklahoma, Arkansas, every place that the Chiefs' veins run deep in the Midwest here. So I think it'll be great for them to do that. You know, as far as who to take or what to take, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows, but I think the board will tell. The good thing of it is I think that the Chiefs are deep. It's a good roster. You know, there's not really a dire pressing need where they have to go do something. I think they're going to be comfortable and come out with a good draft on the first round.
All right, Timmy, the biggest headline right now going into the draft is the fact that the Jets traded for Aaron Rodgers. And so we had that conversation this morning, and that brought up all the different big quarterback trades. The Hall of Fame quarterbacks went to another destination. Of course, that reminds us of when Joe Montana was traded along with a third-round pick and David Whitmore for a first-round pick back before the 1993 season. And I see Tim Barnett out there. They caught that touchdown pass on fourth down against the Steelers in the wild card game. I see Keith Cash out there. They caught that touchdown to start the second half against the Oilers, and he threw that football to the poster of Buddy Ryan's face. Rest in peace. But still, they threw it in his face. And then the Chiefs got to the championship game. And so tell me maybe what you think of Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets and what that was like, what Joe Montana brought to the Chiefs when that big deal was made.
Well, I've met Aaron Rodgers. I've seen Aaron Rodgers play, and he's no Joe Montana. But I will say that, you know, Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets, a little bit like when Joe came to the Chiefs, it gave us some confidence. It gave us a little swagger. When Joe walked down the field, the guy expected to win. And when you're in the huddle, just like when Trent was here with the Kansas City Chiefs, when he walked down that field and walked into the huddle and you know, demanded the attention and the focus of the guys in the huddle, we expected to win. And a real quick story, you guys obviously have seen the Monday night game, the Elway against Montana Monday night game in 1993. Some think is the finest Monday night game of all time. Joe Montana walked into the huddle before that last drive with 1:17 left. We had to go all the way down. And, you know, to preface it by saying, the Denver Broncos always beat us. And they always beat us in the last couple seconds. It was one of those things. So they score with 1:15. We're like, oh, here we go again. So we're all down and out. And Joe Montana walked into the huddle and he said something about, did you see the chaps on those cheerleaders? You know, wow, that's and we're looking around like, Joe, you know, we're all scared to death here, okay? You know, we're not looking at the asses of the cheerleaders right now. So he says, hey guys, listen. And he straight-faced said, this is what I do. We're gonna go down and win the football game. Give me some time, trust in what I do, and we're gonna get it done. And by golly, we did. That was Joe Montana. And Aaron Rodgers is no Joe Montana.
These guys got it done for the Chiefs for years and years. How about a big round of applause here for Tim Grunhard and Bill Maas?